Hey guys, it's Nichole Eaton with the Rock Your Soul book and podcast, where we talk about how to hack your mindset, grow your intuition, and live your best life. You can support this podcast by subscribing, leaving a positive review, and screenshot and sharing on social media. Hey guys, it's Nichole Eaton. Welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Soul podcast. I'm so excited today. I've been doing a lot of content on Instagram. If you're not following me, make sure you get to be following me, NicholeEaton.xo. There is an H in my name, so make sure you put Nichole. I've been getting a lot of questions about intuition and the universe and how the universe speaks to you, which is one of my favorite topics. And honestly, I don't talk about it enough. I talk a lot about how supported you are by the universe and how the universe has your back and about mindset, but there is that beautiful sweet spot where the universe is speaking to you. One of the things that is interesting is that people often notice the universe is speaking to you. They often notice signs or repeating numbers or animals or birds. A lot of people equate cardinals with past loved ones. So there is a widespread recognition that the universe is speaking to you. And there's different ways that you might see signs or symbols. And it's interesting because I absolutely believe that each sign may have a meaning, right? If you have a cardinal and you've identified that as a loved one, some people connect that with Jesus. There's a lot of different options online. However, I think a lot of times the universe is just trying to get us to pay attention and feel supported. I think a lot of the signs and symbols that we receive are really just the universe saying, hey, I'm here. You can use me. You can tag team with me. You can be supported by me, and I'm here no matter what. I'm here if you're asking for it. I'm here if you're not asking for it. I'm here if you need a little help or you need a little guidance. I'm here, please. Like, it's almost just a reminder of the universe being like, hey, I want to help you out. Like, let's do this together. And that's how I view signs and symbols, is that you can look into the meaning of it, but also it can just be a reminder that you are divinely loved and divinely supported. And I think that's just as badass. So always look into, and you can really just go on any animals, any numbers, anything that you're seeing that's popping up over and over again. And you can say, hey, this is it. This is what this means. So I had a comment on one of my videos that I made, or one of my posts that I made about intuition and just trusting the universe. And the question was, I asked the universe to send me a specific word to confirm something in my life right now. Do you think the universe will do so? So I think that the universe gives us signs and symbols, and it's that knowing that we're recognizing that, man, I have seen this a lot. This is coming up for me a lot. Like, this is like the sixth cardinal that's crossed my path today. This is, the seventh time today I'm seeing 222 in a row, because it's like on license plate, it's on the gas pumps, I'm just seeing this everywhere. And so it's almost a little bit more of an accidental magic than it is an intentional one. Could you put out a word or a statement and ask for this particular symbol? I think the universe will always try to work with you. My caution in saying that is that sometimes when we're asking for specific things, whether that's a manifestation, whether that's just asking for this specific sign, is that we can get attached to the outcome. And when we get attached to any outcome at all, ever, we block ourselves from seeing it. If you can truly say, oh, I'd like to see this particular number, and then I'm truly letting it go. I haven't thought about it. I haven't, focused on it at all. I totally forgot, totally out of mind and soul. It could work. It may work. It may show up. However, what we typically do when we start to try to control the universe or decide for the universe how it's going to speak to us is we do a couple things. We start looking for it, and that might look like waiting for it to get close to 11:11 so you can look at the clock at 11:11. Or we can block it from just needing it, from wanting it. If we think about manifestation, when we don't have something, we're manifesting from lack. When we're manifesting from lack, we're saying, this isn't part of my experience, instead of saying, I'm ready to receive it. So my suggestion would be to not get attached to any outcome, to not decide, and to let the universe show you. Because I think that's the magic, right? Is when we can let the universe show us what it wants us to see, show us something that we're like, I've seen this a lot lately. This is showing up a lot for me lately. I wonder what that is. When we have that information, we have that coming into our world, that's a whole different ballgame, and it just feels different. So can you do it that way? Yeah, why not? Try it out. See if it works for you. But if you start to feel very attached to that outcome, if you start to kind of look for it, I don't think it has the same kind of magical quality as just catching something off guard. Now, what I will say is that when I first started doing a lot of spirituality and spiritual work, what I did was I set the intention. I'd really like to know how the universe speaks to me. I'd really like to receive a sign or a symbol today. And I remember just sitting there, and in my head, in my third eye sense, I saw a green check mark. And I remember thinking, oh, great, that's my sign and symbol. This is like, where the hell would this pop up? I've literally never seen a check mark that looked like that. And later that day, my daughter was like really young at the time, and she was watching Dora the Explorer. Explorer? I don't know. Dora. She's watching Dora. I don't even know if that's still on anymore, but that's what she was watching. And I was in my head about something that I was trying to make a decision on. I was thinking a lot about just this situation. I thought I had kind of come to a resolution with myself that I was going a certain direction. And I look over, my eyes got pulled to that screen, and I just saw 3 green check marks on the screen that looked exactly like the one I saw in my head. And so this came up for me over and over and over again in different scenarios. It wasn't just Dora. It wasn't just, so there is magic to receiving a symbol for yourself. And that might look like just saying, I wonder what my symbol would be. Show me something that I know you're connecting with me. Another way that showed up for me is through 222. I actually have it tattooed on my arm because it's just my angel sign. That's how I feel supported by the universe, is seeing that number repeat itself, whether it's just 22 or 222. So you can begin to ask for the universe to show you how it speaks to you. You can invite in signs and symbols, but I would really personally, and you can do what you want, but personally steer clear of that, just so you don't manipulate what you're seeing, because our brain will start to look for certain things. I just want you to feel supported, and I don't want it to feel forced. So my advice and my recommendation, obviously do what you'd prefer, what feels good to you. Always trust your intuition over anybody else's. But I would just invite the universe to say, show me what this might be. Show me how I can feel most supported and connected. Because the thing is, the universe is always speaking to you. And the cool thing about intuition, and the thing I want you to really hear, if you learn nothing about intuition from me at all ever, this is the one thing I want you to hear, is that intuition speaks first. It speaks first. It is your initial response, whether that's your knowing, whether that's a gut response. The thing about intuition that's very, very tricky is that we don't have a lot of evidence, and we live in a world where, in a society that requires more evidence for us to feel like, oh, we can believe in that because we have all this evidence. Intuition doesn't always make sense. It's not always the next logical move. It will feel like a deeper soul push or a pull or a knowing or a gut response, where it's like in people who have that true gut response. And if you look at human design, you can tell what kind of intuition, how your intuition speaks to you. But people who have that gut response are the majority of of the human design of people have that gut response. It will twist. It will hurt. It will feel like your stomach is like caving in on itself. And the more you pay attention to it, the stronger that will get. And that's a really good way to also just listen to your intuition and feel how the universe is speaking to you too. But intuition speaks first, and it's just a knowing. And so we can use this with signs and symbols to just invite in a knowing, to invite in that experience of just experiencing the universe and its magic. Because that's the cool thing, is the universe is magic. It's so magical, and it's trying to support you. It wants to support you. It wants you to pay attention to it. But we go on autopilot into our lives, into our logical space, and we feel like we've got to do it ourselves. And I think that's the most magical thing about the universe in and of itself, is that we don't have to do it ourselves. We don't have to do any of this ourselves. We actually get to feel supported by the universe. We actually get to involve ourselves in a higher power. We actually get to listen to our highest soul self, because we know the soul is part of the body. Even science has proven that to some extent, that there is an energy that exists when you're born into the world, and when you die, your physical body is still the same. There's nothing that weighs any different, but that soul essence, that spark, that God spark, that energy is no longer there. So if we can identify minimally that we have a soul, then we can identify that the soul must be an energetic part of something greater, and then slide into opening and accepting the universe in that way. Another important question that I get asked often is, can I trust my intuition? And trusting your intuition takes a lot more practice than you might want it to. Because again, we've overrode it for a long time. A lot of people have overrode their intuition for so long that they've lost touch with being able to trust it. And a lot of times we get that initial response and then our fear chimes in and our logic chimes in. Well, why would you be thinking that? This, you might have a gut response that this person is just maybe not the best person for you to be around. And you don't have any evidence. Maybe they were smiley, maybe they were friendly, maybe they asked a lot of right questions, but there's just something about it that's caught you off guard. And so our secondary response comes in and tries to fix our intuition. Like, no, they're fine. See, they were making eye contact. And actually, there's a book called Talking with Strangers, I believe it is, by Malcolm Gladwell. And he talks a lot about this, of people who knew Hitler before Hitler, pulled this crazy genocide, right? That there were people who went and hung out with him and was like, no, he seems like a really nice guy. I can't see him ever doing that. There are people who, prime ministers who went and met with him for lunch and were like, no, I mean, he's a really nice guy. And so our intuition isn't always what's presented in our physical reality. And that's the tricky part about trusting our intuition, is that we can have a gut or feeling about something, and it may look different than what our gut feeling or our knowing is. And we might go back through and try to justify that within ourselves. In this book, Talking with Strangers, where it was basically that the more we get to know about something, the more we look at all of the pieces of it, the less we rely on our intuition. And he didn't use the word intuition, but that's really what it came down to. The less we can trust ourselves to be correct about something, the more we think about it. The more we think about it, the less we can trust ourselves to be correct. And so a lot of times when people are like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with this situation, I just feel so overwhelmed, the more you think about it, the less you're arriving at a result. I will tell you that. And I truly wholeheartedly believe that when you can separate yourself from the situation, and what I'll say to people is, give it 3 days. I want you to give it 3 days, and I don't want you to think about it. Every time it pops in your head, I want you to say, okay, in 3 days I can think about it. And I just want you to go live your life. I want you to go find something fun. I want you to, get a little busy or distracted, get an activity in. And I bet within those 3 days, there will be an aha moment. I bet within 3 days, you will feel like, oh, I know the answer. Oh, I feel really strongly this way. And it will just come in, because when we think, we actually block our intuition. Our intuition our brain only functions from what it already knows. It only functions from almost like a survival mode of like what's directly in front of you. So when we have those knowings and they're not lining up with what's in front of you because they're thinking ahead, they're knowing something deeper, or an energy that's just not going to serve you, or an energy that maybe, you need to do something a little different. So when we have those feelings, when we overthink things, we block ourselves from receiving the word of the universe, the word of God, the word of your higher self, and we block ourselves from actually hearing that input. I want you to think of a time that you were driving or relaxed or cleaning or working out, and you suddenly knew the answer to something. And my daughter did this, a couple months ago when she was still in school, and she had this math problem she was trying to figure out. And I don't know how to do her math. She's in like pre-algebra, pre-calculus, or I don't know, whatever ninth grade math is. Then I'm just sitting there. I'm like, this part of my brain, I'm pretty sure just blacked out, and I cannot help you with this. So she's in her bed, and I hear her, like, it's like 11 p.m. and I hear her in her room, and I get up and she's like, I know the answer. And she was about to fall asleep and just had this memory or had this experience where she just suddenly knew the right way to do this math problem. And a lot of people have occurrences like that. And that is the most beautiful, clear way our intuition speaks to us. But we have to get the fuck out of the way. So for lack of better words, we have to get out of our own fucking way to be able to hear the intuition. So putting yourself in a relaxed state, which is why people swear on meditation, because meditation, bubble baths, working out, cleaning, anything where we're in kind of a state where our brain frequency doesn't have to be active, we can hear our intuition a lot better and a lot quicker. So when we have that busy brain where we're thinking and hoping to come to a conclusion, we put ourselves in a situation that's really hard for us to actually hear our soul and to hear the information that may be the most right for you, that maybe uh, lead you to an easier path. The logical path isn't always bad. I think logic has its place, absolutely. However, intuition is a lot of times a quicker and happier path. It's a lot of times hard because sometimes our intuition will want us to make different choices, or it will want us to go a different direction. But it usually is a path of joy, and it usually is a path that feels ultimately better than, oh, well, if I do this, this, and this, I'll eventually get there. And when I get there, I'll probably feel this way. It's just kind of like a shortcut, in my opinion. So, can I trust my intuition? Yeah. Yes, you can. You do have to learn how it speaks to you. And so what I would say to you is kind of just invite that in. I might, ask the universe to help you learn how your intuition speaks. You might hear it. You might see movies in your head. You might have images pop in your head. You might just have a knowing about something that doesn't really even come from anywhere specific. You just might know. You might feel things, or feel an experience, or feel different emotions, or even density on your body. You might feel it on your body or in your heart. So you might just ask, like, how does my intuition speak to me? How does that happen? And then what I would encourage everybody to do when you're learning your intuition, and this is one of my favorite practices, and this is what I used to use to work on my intuition, is that I would write down any intuitive hits, any random thoughts, feelings, experiences that I had, any images or movies that played in my head, any dreams I had that felt intuitive or felt like there's important things I should know. I would just write it down. Get a notes section in your phone just for your intuition. If our logical brain needs evidence, then we'll provide it with some. So I had this feeling about this person that I met, 2 weeks ago. I wrote it down. I didn't make meaning out of it. I didn't decide why he's, bad or she's bad. I didn't decide why that's not, something was off. But 2 months later, here we are, and this is what happened, and they stole money from this person. Like, so you might have that gut feeling, you might write that down. And then when you write that down, that gives you time that if something shows up that correlates, you can go back and be like, oh yeah, I did. I can trust my intuition. See, I wrote it down right here. I had that feeling and that happened. So you can kind of go into a space where you create your own evidence of yourself by just writing it down, seeing where it shows up. Like I said, with that Talking with Strangers book, every incident was basically that our initial gut response doesn't make sense, but if we trust it, we're probably not wrong. It will probably show up, and it may not show up the next day. It may take 3 months, a year to really see it. But when we start to collect evidence, we start to trust our intuition. And that way, when it shows up later, we can be like, oh, yeah, I can trust my intuition because I have all these examples of the times that I was right, of the times that, that made the most sense to me. The only caution I have with intuition is a couple things, right? Okay, couple things. One being that when we open up our intuition, I believe that we open up our energy to the light. I do believe that we can open it up to heavier energies. I think we're doing that anyway, which is why you can feel sad when you're around somebody who's sad. You're open to all frequencies, all energies. But what I do recommend is that with the intention of opening your intuition, that you're only open to receiving things of the highest good, things that are healing, helpful, or otherwise preventative for you. Just setting some intentions around that. Firm believer in just being really protective of your energy. I always like to do energy clearing with that and just keeping that open. So it's totally up to you how you do that. But if you're going to open that, I would encourage that. The other really important thing with learning your intuition is I wouldn't decide exactly what something means. So a lot of people have the intuitive hit that this, is the case. And again, they start to make meaning out of it. They decide what it means. They decide what it says. They look for evidence and clues in their physical world of like what that is and what that looks like and what that could mean. Just take it for what it is. Let it show you how it's working. Let it show you what it can be and what it is. A lot of times the universe pulls from our frame of reference, which means the information we already know. Sometimes we don't know the information it's trying to give us yet, and it will show up later. And so I would just, if you have a feeling about something, you write exactly what that feeling is, where it sits. If you have an image, you write exactly what that image is and just see how it shows up so that you can start to learn how your intuition's speaking to you. When we jump to conclusions, we miss a lot of the beautiful universal energy we do. We try to make it into something it's not, and we try to feel justified. Oh, I had a client the other day that was like, I saw this symbol and I think it means that my ex is coming back. And I think, ultimately it probably meant freedom, but sometimes we can tie these symbols and these signs into what we want them to be rather than what they are. So our intuition, and that's why I always encourage people, if they're going to a psychic or they're going to a medium, to take it for what it's worth and to take what feels right. Because at the end of the day, those people are also pulling from their intuition and may have skewed visions or skewed stories about things that may not lead to an accurate reading for you. And not always. I mean, there are definitely people I trust, but I think everybody, when they're pulling from their intuition, is pulling it in a way that they have to learn it. And sometimes it's not completely accurate because of how they're interpreting it, not because it's showing up. So write down exactly what that is and exactly how that looks for you, because I think that's going to be the most helpful way for you to start trusting your intuition. Because the thing is like I said, you can trust your intuition. You have to learn it a little first, and it's kind of like a muscle at the gym. Opening up your energy and opening up your intuition is kind of like a muscle at the gym. Just hearing yourself speak when we've overrode it for so long, it just takes practice. And again, our logical brain, because intuition isn't always logical, takes effort and it takes intention. So I encourage you to surround yourself with things that are good energy, with practices that will help you clear your energy and make you feel good. Because this is a really great way. When we're in a high vibrational state, we're more easily able to hear our intuition correctly, access it correctly, and feel more just supported by the universe. And I want that for you. The whole goal of this entire podcast is that I want you to feel supported and loved by the universe, because that is, I think, the most important thing to moving through your life in a way that feels not lonely, in a way that feels like there's possibility, there's hope, there's flow, all of the good things. Because I'll tell you what, again, and one of the most important things that I like to remind people of, and that most people maybe not know about me because I am so like, yeah, universe all the time. I was a total atheist probably a decade ago. I didn't believe in anything. I never had religion growing up. It wasn't part of my life. I didn't know anything about God, Jesus. I didn't even know they were two separate things. Like it was like a whole I was completely separate from any idea of spirituality and religion. And my intuition just kicked into overdrive one day. And I just began to really, when I was working with people one on one, I began to like know certain things about them that maybe they weren't telling me. And that's, what made me good at my job. I started to think of like, why is it that I knew that? And they would ask me, like, did I tell you that? And I'd be like, I think so. But I didn't grow up believing in anything specific. I didn't grow up with a religion. And even now, I don't tie myself to religion, but I am tied to spirituality because I've seen so much evidence of it, because I feel that there is a universe, that it loves you, that you are loved, that at your highest expression, there's all of this awesome stuff waiting for you. And so I always encourage people to find what feels true to you. Find what makes the most sense to you. If that's a religion, hell yes. If that's not a religion and it's more of just, I think I have a higher self, because sometimes I feel like I have a deeper knowing or wisdom and I don't know where to put that. That's fine too. I don't care what the fuck you believe in. I just want you to believe in something, because I'll tell you, that's a game changer. When we can get out of our head and understand energy, when we can get out of our head and open up to the universe and the magic of it, it is such a much more fun world. It's such a better experience. It just feels like you're supported along the way. And there's not much anybody would do at this point, in my experience, that would try. Like, I don't think you could talk me out of the universe existing. I don't think you could talk me out of my intuition being accurate and strong. It's just something that I've acquired evidence for over half a decade, if not more, 7 years. I think I've been doing this work. And it's just proven to me time and time again that I am supported, I am loved, and that the universe has my back, and my intuition is not wrong. I might misinterpret it from time to time, but it's just not wrong. So give yourself permission to be supported. Give yourself permission to try and see what works for you. I will never tell anybody what to believe in, but I will encourage you to choose to see things differently. I will encourage you to find a new perspective in relation to a bigger energy than you. because I do believe it's a game changer. So I would love to know your experiences with intuition. I would love to hear your stories of how your intuition speaks to you. And again, intuition is nothing more than a pull towards something, of feeling like you should take this route instead of the other one, a subtle notion of like, I feel kind of off since I was around that person. I wonder what that's about. And it's just like, truly, intuition is just a curiosity. Even with like readings and stuff, it's really just asking a question. It's just asking, what else do I need to know about that? And just waiting to see what pops back in. And again, that's just developing that. But even if you start nowhere else, just write it down. This is what I felt. I don't know what that is. I don't know why. I don't have to make sense of it, but I'm just going to write it down and see where it shows up. And that's your power. Your power is in your intuition. Your soul's been trying to speak to you about your car extended warranty. No, I'm just kidding. I think that it's just a really important thing to be paying attention to, is that you have a soul and you have this big ass universe trying to support you. It's time to let it in. If you guys would like to join my Facebook group, make sure you're following me on Instagram, facebook.com/group/rockyoursoulclarity. I'll post all the links in the bio. But I love you guys. I hope you're having a fantastic week and it continues to get even better. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Rock Your Soul book and podcast. Take a moment to book a one-on-one session with me or purchase my trainings at NicholeEaton.com. Join the Rock Your Soul Facebook group or follow me on Instagram at NicholeEaton.xo. And if you loved this podcast, don't forget to share it. Thank you.